Thinking.
Ooh. All right. Hi, everybody. It's Larry and Jess with
Hi, everyone.
coffee chat, but we're doing it at 1 p.m., so it's afternoon chat. So before we get started, we're going to share our meme that best represents how we're doing today. So, Jess, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. Okay. Give me a second. Okay. This is me right now because I just had my first I know, with all of my Avid students, and there were 26 kids on there, and I haven't seen them all as a group since we shut down, and it was just so lovely to get to spend some time with all of them, and it was really awesome. It made me forget how much I'm missing teaching, like, live. So that's me today.
Awesome. And for me, I mean, I feel like I now am like, I think the harder that I wash my hands, that the more effective that is. So I've now trained myself like to literally scrub them so hard. And so when I saw this Terminator meme, I said, yeah, and that's exactly how my hands are feeling right now.
You look just like that too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all
Not the
right.
hand part, the Arnold part.
Oh, great. I was like, I have brittle hands now. All right, we'll go ahead and jump into it. We got a lot of questions to answer, so we've categorized them by different groups. So we'll start with grades and credits first. So the first question we have is, there are so many different ideas going around about if the schoolwork is optional or not. Can you clarify? So as of April 13th, it is no longer optional. So everything that you are doing starting this week until the remainder of the school year is required. So make sure to get it done. All right, next question. How will the pass, no pass grading work? Will students still get a GPA on their report card? And is there any way to change it? So right now, there's not really a way to change it as far as, if it's pass, no pass, that's going to be how it's rolled out. Pass won't impact your GPA. So if you pass all your classes, that's not going to negatively impact your GPA. The only way it'll negatively impact it is if you fail a course. So that's kind of the difference between a pass, no pass.
And Larry, can I add something on there? Just for students, especially like juniors and sophomores who are concerned about, for their college applications. I've been following all kinds of blogs and taking webinars and stuff from the College Board and WACAC and NACAC, which are WACAC is the Western Association of College and Academic Counselors, and NACAC is the National Association. And all universities are going to recognize the pass, no pass as an acceptable, fulfillment of the college requirements, and students won't be penalized for that showing up on their transcripts. So you don't need to worry about that in terms of your college applications.
Great. Thanks for adding that too, Jess.
Yeah.
Next question, will grades in School Loop remain letter grades until the end of the semester when they are recorded as pass or no pass? Correct. So when you look into your School Loop, you will see regular grading. Unfortunately, School Loop doesn't allow for too much change as far as grading goes. So you won't see each assignment as a pass or no pass. You'll just see as a letter grade, but when semester grades are done, you'll either get a pass or no pass marking. And I know each teacher has their gradebook set up a little differently. So just my best advice, check with your teacher, but you probably most likely will see letter grades up until the end of the grading period.
All right, and then the next one was, do you need to get a passing grade in all of your classes to graduate with a pass-fail system? And the answer to that question is that you need to make sure that you're getting a passing grade in all of your courses that are required for graduation. Um, so if you fail a class that's not a graduation requirement, then no, that's not gonna, stop you from graduating. But, that means you really need to be paying extra attention to, like, English is all 4 years graduation requirement. Most likely your history class is a graduation requirement. Your math all the way through IM3 is a graduation requirement. So you just need to make sure you understand which classes are required for graduation, and those are the ones. If you're worried about, not passing a class, focus on those ones that are graduation requirements and make sure you're putting your best effort into those classes first.
Great. The next one, if we have good grades and want to keep them, can we use the letter grade system? So no, for this semester, it's pass, no pass. Even if you wanted to go to a letter grade, that's not an option for right now. If that changes for whatever reason, I'll let you know. But like Jess mentioned, the pass, no pass isn't negatively impacting students, and it won't have any negative bearing on college acceptance.
All right, the next one is, can teachers somehow let parents know if an assignment has been received but not graded, or not received before giving a 0? There's no school-wide policy on this. Some teachers do enter in, like, a letter code that says, the assignment has been received but not yet graded, but that's not a school-wide policy. So really that's a case-by-case basis, and you're gonna have to just reach out to the teachers, that you have, or your students' teachers to ask that question.
Great. Okay, we're gonna move on to graduation. Will there be a ceremony for the graduating seniors later in the year after orders are lifted? If not in person, then perhaps virtually. So yeah, our goal is to have, once we get more guidance on the shelter in place and once the ban's lifted, looking at what our options are as far as a live graduation, how far out that could be, or if it needs to be some sort of virtual graduation. So we are looking at different options, but we're also trying to be hopeful that maybe we'll get clearer guidance in the next week or two so that we can start planning.
Will we still receive our cap to decorate? Absolutely, yes. Ms. Shembri is working on this, making sure that everyone, gets their cap. And they're going to get their gown too, right?
Yeah, cap and gown.
Just that's super important, just so you guys can, at the minimum, at least just have photos, for your family and for you, for keepsakes and things like that. So you'll definitely be getting a cap and gown, and you will be able to decorate your caps.
Yeah, and we're working on a pickup procedure. Ms. Shembry's working on some of the details of what that's going to look like. So seniors, you'll probably be hearing something next week as far as when to pick up caps and gowns, what it's going to look like. So just look forward to that information coming out sometime maybe next week. Can we still order graduation tassels, caps and gowns? So most of you probably don't remember that we did this early in the year and we were all in the cafeteria together. So chances are 98% of you did this and don't remember that you did. If you are in the small 1% to 2% who did not do this, there are a few extra gowns that Ms. Shembri ordered, so she'll be working with those students directly if gowns need to be ordered. But again, most students probably already did this, so we're only talking about a small handful.
And then the last question around graduation was, will students still be able to get a physical diploma? And absolutely, yes. We just still have to work on the logistics of how those will get distributed. But you will absolutely get a physical diploma at some point.
Yeah. The next one is going to be sort of like social emotional questions, so we'll do our best to answer those. If my child needs to have counseling, what is the first step? So our counselors all have office hours. That's going to go out in my letter as well as far as how to get a hold of them. Also, School Loop Messenger. I know a lot of our students are emailing teachers and counselors and stuff. They also have available office hours. So Our counselors are available Monday through Friday to help answer questions. I think email is usually the best, but if you need to set an appointment, just shoot them an email and see if they have some flexible time to get that set up. Okay, next question. As a parent of a soon to graduate senior, I'm wondering if there is any alumni family groups or something that could keep us informed about what's happening at Del Mar. So I think the best resource that we currently have would be our website. Our website gets updated regularly. The other thing is, I know that we have a lot of social media accounts. Our Facebook page, Instagram, we have a Del Mar ASB one that just got created. Our sports one is pretty active. So those would be the ones that I would highly suggest getting involved in all of our social media accounts so that you can stay informed about what's going on and learn about new stuff. But first and foremost, website, and then these accounts would probably be sort of the next step as far as things that you can do.
Mhm.
Next question, how are we supposed to attend second period if we have an SVCTE class at the same time? Yeah, so I know that this is a challenge for a lot of students where our schedule conflicts with your SVCTE class. So I think the best advice I can give is really communicate with both of your teachers. Our attendance is flexible enough where if you feel like you have to be at SVCTE, you can communicate with your teacher from Del Mar and let them know, hey, here's what I'm going to do, or I can show up to this office hours, or these are the steps that I can take. Or on the flip side, if you feel like you need your Del Mar class and SVCTE class is something that you can communicate with your teacher and work through, maybe do it the opposite way and maybe reaching out to your SVCTE teacher about getting caught up on that stuff. So I know that's not the perfect ideal answer, but that would probably be my best suggestion.
All right, this next question is a really good one and probably one that a lot of families are struggling with negotiating. How can students make best use of their phones at their side while engaged in formal and official distance learning? What's the best way to encourage them remaining in close contact with peers, both academically and socially, without the phone becoming a distraction? So I'll take the first question first. So I feel your pain. I have 3 kids. I have a junior in high school, a 8th grader, and a 3rd grader, and my husband and I are both teachers and, working full-time from home. I'm just gonna speak from my experience. We started kind of loosey-goosey and didn't really have a schedule, and that drove me insane because I was constantly nagging them to, like, get off of this, get off of that. And I just can't concentrate on my work if I feel like I also have to be, monitoring them at the same time. So then we just instituted in our house times that are counted as school time. And during that time, they need to not, their phones are put away. Like we have a mantle and they have to put them up there. I mean, they're still on a computer fairly often, but for some reason, it seems like they don't seem to get as distracted by the computer as they do by their phone. And what I did is I basically said, you guys can pick which windows of time work for you. So, for example, my 3rd grader wakes up a lot earlier than my junior in high school. So his school day starts at 9:30 and he's not allowed to have any screen time other than schoolwork until 2:30. My junior in high school, her school day starts more like 10:30, 11, and she's not allowed to be on her phone or screens for anything but school until what would that be, 3 or 3:30. So we kind of have this like a little bit of flexibility where they can choose, when they want to wake up and everything. But first, I think what is that, about a 6-hour window, which is what they normally would be in school. They're not allowed to be on their phones. And then by having them put it physically somewhere, I don't have to be monitoring them all the time. That's been really effective. Now, that doesn't mean that they're working on school for 6 hours because they don't have that much work, but I count like exercise counts as PE. If they want to bake or cook or draw, like they don't have to be doing intense schoolwork during those 6 hours, but they can't be on their phones. That's my suggestion. The second half about remaining close with peers, I think if you can show them how to like use Zoom and set it up on their own, I think that's huge. And I think it just depends on your kid. Like, so again, I'll speak from my personal experience. My middle daughter is really, really social, and she's FaceTiming her friends every evening. Um, and that's how she's staying connected. My older daughter is a little more introverted. They just kind of Snapchat sometimes, but she's fine with that. They're not really staying in touch as much, like, live. So, I mean, that's kind of all you can do at this point, but I would definitely encourage that there is a designated time during the day that is like school time, and that routine is very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I was going to say, like, even develop sending letters to families or things like that, get in
Mhm.
the habit of maybe what some of us have been used to, but even something like that. I know we received a drawing from my nephew of the Ninja Turtles, so we put that on our fridge.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I do have a couple of other ideas that we've done socially. I did get sidewalk chalk, and we've sidewalk chalk bombed their friends' like driveways and sidewalks. Like we've driven to their houses and decorated outside. I also contacted a couple of my kids' friends, parents to make sure this was okay. But we've been buying little candies or things and making sure they're clean, but hiding them in their front yard and then texting and saying, we left you something, and they have to go find it. And then they do it back a few days later to us. Just a way to feel like you're kind of connected. So things like that are helpful, but we're just trying to be creative.
I love it. Those are great ideas. Thanks, Jess.
No
All right.
problem.
Next up is distribution into the year stuff. So one of the first questions, how will yearbooks be distributed? I know Ms. Shembry and Ms. Chase are sort of working on the outline for that and when that's going to happen. It all depends really when the yearbook gets submitted. And as you can probably guess, things have really changed drastically since we've been out as far as what the pages are going to look like. So we'll definitely continue to keep you posted, but it's more of a matter of when it gets complete is when we'll have an idea of when it will get distributed, and whether that's either at the end of this school year or sometime in the summer or the fall. Those are possible timelines that we're looking at. Question, how can the students set up time to come empty their lockers and gym lockers now that school isn't coming back this semester? So that's great. I think the main thing we as a site are working on sort of a system for not only cleaning out your lockers, but also returning items. So we'll probably be putting something out together in the next week or two. We also recognize that some of you may need some of your materials for the remainder of the school year. So it might be somewhat in phases, but we'll probably want to start putting something out for some people to drop stuff off, get things checked back in. And then obviously as we get closer to the end of the year and you don't need your other specific items or maybe textbooks or things like that, having an opportunity for students to either drive and drop them off or do something of that nature. This question was about hotspots. Are we going to be upgrading hotspots to an unlimited plan or increase the high-speed data? So right now, all hotspots that have been leased out are going to sort of remain the same. It's not really going to be anything that changes. But if you find yourself experiencing issues with the hotspots, there is a tech number that I'll put in this email. It's also on our website in case you have questions about tech needs or if you're having issues with Chromebooks. So I just want to make sure that if you are having some issues with your hotspot or you feel like it's not working quite as much as you might need it to, definitely reach out to our tech people. Again, know that there's some things that are outside of our control that we are able to do. So. And then what will happen to finals is the next question. So right now, the final schedule, it's probably going to be very different. What I can tell you is that what I believe it'll look like is really the teachers will probably have some sort of due date for their last bit of classes. You aren't going to see like a traditional final schedule like we've been used to. It'll be more like teachers have some final assignment that's due and making sure that it gets turned in. So we'll definitely try to get more information out about that. But I know one thing our staff has been asking about. And so we've started to go over some of the specifics about finals, but it hasn't been very clear. So I'll get that out to everyone as soon as I get more information.
And then this last question is kind of partly a suggestion and partly a question, addressing the fact that now the way that students communicate with their teachers is pretty significantly changed, meaning that they're needing to do everything through email, and that a lot of students don't have a lot of experience with writing like more formal emails as opposed to texting. And so kind of the like etiquette and structure and format of doing that. We actually have advisory lessons that we do for all freshmen, even before all of this happened, on how to write an appropriate email to teachers, because let me tell you, we've seen some funny ones. Yo, Miss Olana. So there is a lesson in the advisory Google Classroom on how to properly write an email. We definitely could use some help with parents for this one. But if there are students watching and you're not sure, you should make sure that you are, writing in a formal kind of letter format. There should always be something in the subject that shouldn't be like, "What's up with my grade?" But, "I have a question about my grade," or "question about grades." And then you always want to have a greeting like, "Dear Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so." You want to write incomplete sentences. You want to be polite and probably a little more formal than you're used to. And then there should always be a salutation at the end, like, "Thank you so much for your time," comma, and your name, or "sincerely," or something like that. I do have to say that most students have been doing a very good job of that who communicate with me. I think students are getting better and better at it, which is nice to see. All right. That's all the questions, I think, right, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I was going to add to emails is, just be cognizant of when you're sending emails. Like if you're sending it at 11 o'clock at night, your teacher is not going to be responding to you right away. But also just know that during the day, they're working and teaching and planning. And so there's a good chance they might not get back to you for 24 to 48 hours. So just be patient as we, navigate through this. So that's the only thing I wanted to add about that.
Well, you did remind me of one other thing. I have had a couple of students ask me questions through Remind, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think I can speak for most adults, which is that it's a lot easier for me to kind of lose a Remind message or a text than it is an email. Like my preference, and I always tell this to students if they ask me something through Remind, is I'd really rather get a question like that through an email than a Remind message. Especially if you're sending it late at night, because a lot of people, it shows up as a text and that will like wake people up, or, it's kind of just like that etiquette type of a thing. If you really have a question about your grades or a school policy, it's more appropriate for that to come through an email than a Remind message.
Great.
All right.
All right, Mrs. Alamed, I think we have concluded another coffee chat.
That was so fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one.
All right, everyone. Well, it was nice to see you. We miss you all, and we hope you stay safe and sane.
Yeah, take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.